On the other side of the river that runs alongside the city there is a huge industrial zone. Years ago there was a frenetic activity there, hundreds of people worked in the pretentious and bustling factories, and all kinds of vehicles loaded with goods passed incessantly over the bridge. But all that ended because of the economic recession and the decline of society. Because now, on the other side of the bridge, the tarnished symbols of a fallen regime's pride greet the entrance to the ill-fated industrial complex in which only an oppressive solitude remains, an anguished silence broken by the occasional chirping of birds and the melancholic light of the sun between the rusty metal skeletons and the cracked concrete giants. The factories closed, their machinery stopped forever, smoke no longer comes out of the chimneys. A veritable labyrinth of cracked pavement road stretches between the dilapidated warehouses, already partially overgrown with weeds, under a tangle of rusty pipes and rusty conveyor belts that connect the dilapidated factories. But no person or vehicle circulates there anymore. Or so it might seem at first glance. The boys of the declining city or some homeless go there occasionally looking for fun or shelter. But some have never returned. It is said, in fearful whispers and dark corners, that the cause is not the presence of malefactors, or accidents due to the deterioration of the buildings, but a vague and disturbing presence that manifests itself among the desolation of the shattered windows and the dilapidated structures. Because it is said, in fearful whispers and dark corners, that sometimes among the abandoned factories a nightmarish liminal reality manifests itself in this world, always eager to martyr and devour those insane or unfortunate who enter it, under the guise precisely of a ruined industrial zone. No one knows under what circumstances this grim reality manifests itself. Some conjecture that the entrance to that dimension may be a simple flash of the sun on the metal surfaces of the upright machinery. Others, the abnormally opaque shadow of a cloud that hides the sun in the sky. And others, crossing a corridor without light in one of the factories. What everybody agrees on the fact that the stillness of silence and the anguish of loneliness are the heralds of the access to that liminal reality and the beginning of the fateful end. Be that as it may, a sticky manuscript was found some time ago, written by someone whose fate will never be known. The unfortunate affirmed that he did not remember how he had crossed the barrier between our world and that enigmatic and unintelligible reality. Simply, when he realized it, he noticed that he was in a different place. According to this writing, whoever penetrates the liminal industrial space can wander for hours and hours through the labyrinth of paths that stretches between dilapidated buildings and under rusty pipes, traveling kilometers through that decadent landscape without ever leaving the factory complex. In the distance the indistinct shade of trees can be sometimes spotted, as if the limit of that ill-fated complex were there, but walking there will not mean being able to abandon the growing nightmare, since the manufacturing facilities extend one after another in a succession that seems to have no end, while the trees now converted into a beacon of longed-for salvation, always visible in the shapeless distance, are never reached. There is no one in this industrial liminal reality. No people or the passage of vehicles are heard, not even the chirping of birds. The loneliness and unreal silence become, hour by hour, more oppressive and distressing, and the sanity of the one lost in this nightmarish world begins to crack and falter, as he turns his head nervously searching for any sign of life in this desolate complex. Then one hears, or thinks one hears, a distant and unintelligible voice, and the joy resurfaces with crackling intensity between the dejection and despair of the lost, and out of the corner of one's eye one can see a figure or a movement in the vein of some window, or after some flash of the incessant sun. But breaking into one of the dilapidated factories is the worst thing to do. The rooms and facilities inside correspond to the size of the building, they do not extend indefinitely, as might be supposed, as happens in the outdoor spaces of this dreamlike reality. But inside the abandoned factories there are rickety machinery, rusty pipes, unstable walkways, dark galleries, huge halls with unsafe rubble-strewn floors. It's very easy and likely to fall or have an accident, cut yourself on some greasy metal edge, and make it difficult or even impossible to move or run. There is no one outside. But inside the gloomy and dark buildings there is some kind of presence. There are indefinite entities, vague, distant, whose presence is known by their creeping footsteps on metal floors, by their constant and unintelligible whispers and hisses. Do not call or shout, because that will attract those unfathomable entities. They dwell in the shadows, for they hate the light, walking with uncertain steps or crawling on walls and floors, always murmuring in an eerie way. They are humanoid in form, but little or nothing else is known of their features. If they see you, they will advance towards you, slowly but surely. Their intentions are mischievous, but they do not show anger or aggressiveness. They will simply walk towards you calmly, parsimoniously, even with indifference, whispering incessantly, coldly knowing what they are going and must do. No one is known to have survived one of these encounters, although it is easy to imagine the outcome. In most of the abandoned factories, the machines and facilities are turned off, stopped, so covered with dirt that it seems that they have been this way for countless years. But it is said that in some of them you can hear the plaintive screeching and the insistent hum of the operation of some machine. There are some conveyor belts in operation, through which distorted pieces circulate, or some unknown substance, blackish and dense, smelly. It's better that you don't know what it is. For your own safety. For your own sanity. It is advisable to get away from there in a hurry, because it is in these places where the depraved creatures that inhabit these facilities roam the most. But it is almost certain that if you have come this far, you will not go outside again, because when you turn, you will see a shadowy, hissing form in front of you. It is always daytime in the industrial liminal reality. Or at least almost always, because it is said that occasionally the sky may be darkened by thick, gloomy clouds that will appear behind the horizon and quickly cover the sky from one part to another, obscuring the light of the sun. And those clouds will soon give way to a dark and sinister night, because there will be neither moon nor stars. Just an oppressive darkness. If the darkness extends its domain through this reality, look for a hidden hiding place without wasting a second, and pray to any known divinity, for it is then that the sinister entities leave the gloomy factories to roam outside. Despite the absence of stars, the eye ends up getting used to the absence of light, and then they can be seen coming out of the gloomy buildings, crawling and prowling along the roads, between the brush and the pipes, avoiding each other, always avoiding each other, as in a chaotic choreography to the beat of his haunting and expressionless whispers. What is exposed in this brief story is undoubtedly nothing more than a fraction of all the mysteries and horrors of the liminal industrial space that manifests itself on the other side of the river, because as it has been said, no one has ever returned from it, and it is a chaotic, changing and unstable parallel reality, of unfathomable and immeasurable extension, because the pain of the innocent and the excessive ambition of the powerful provide it with inexhaustible fuel, and this is and will continue to be so. And every little time the soul of a new unfortunate will be tormented and ultimately devoured for sustenance and aggrandizement in our world of the industrial liminal space.